For missing the target from there, you want bloody shooting. Oh, it's crap. Oh, it's bloody rubbish. It's rubbish.
But how do you react, though, when someone, you know, from your playing staff comes in and says, boss, I think you're doing this wrongly?
Good. Well, I ask him which way he thinks it should be done. We get down to it, and then we talk about it for 20 minutes, and then we decide I was right.
First of all, how you feel the season's going, both from the point of view of Nottingham Forest, Brian Clough, and football generally?
There's a lot of questions all in one there, John. Sound of your voice, you're just about getting them out as well. The football is going very well for Nottingham Forest. I've had my ups and downs, but generally the club's in good health.
Played for England twice, I think. They've got a nutter in charge called Sir Walter Winterbottom, and he didn't know footballer from that picture on the wall. He didn't know footballer either, because he only picked me twice.
It is now. Earlier we were talking about, you know, but as I said, you've been out seven years or so. It has changed drastically in that time, hasn't it, with the advent of the Premiership? And what I would love to see, and I know people like me, how Brian Clough would take the, if you like, the PLCs head on, the agents that are now manifesting the game or whatever and all that.
I'd just treat them the same. I wouldn't talk to them. I never talked to them when I was in the job, and I wouldn't talk to them now. I know chairmans that or committees. And when I used to work at Derby, when I was just barely in the game, fresh, I remember one of the chairmen saying to me, "You will start coming to one of the board meetings, won't you?" And I said, "No, but you won't."
Now you look at the sort of amounts of money players are...
You signed Trevor Francis to help that kind of battle and strengthen the squad, obviously. Do you think you've seen the best of him yet? And if not, when do you think you will?
Well, I haven't seen a lot of him. I don't know about the best of him. He came into the side last season. Of course, he couldn't come into the cup competitions. He couldn't come into the League Cup, and he couldn't come into this, and he couldn't come into that, and he came back from mega injured. So I don't think we've seen the best of him. And as I'll repeat, I haven't seen much of him, whether it's the best or the bad. But I think his best's got to come. He's a remarkably nice young man, as you well know. He gets his priorities wrong occasionally, but they've been put right very, very quickly here. His off-the-field activities, I think he'll have to curtail. His first and foremost job is to become established as an extremely good player. And he's not that yet. He's not at league level, and he's certainly not at it at international level. For a man of 25 with so much talent to only have, I think he's only got 10 caps. He's won a medal by fluke in the European Cup, because if we'd have had a full squad, there's no doubt about it. I told him there was no way he was playing.
Really?
So he'd have had nothing to show for his 25 years of age and 10 years in football, in the shape of medals and in the shape of representative honours. And I think that side comes part and parcel with earning a lot of money.
In the last 9, 10, 12 months or whatever, we've done football proud. I'm not talking about Nottingham Forest, I'm talking about all of football. So I'd like to thank Mr. Monaghan and thank whoever is higher than him. Most of us are. There a camera on this lad's big head because he represents football. He's a charming young man. He scores a goal at White Hart Lane. He doesn't get involved with referees. To the best of my knowledge, he doesn't have a police record, and we are not hooligans. And his dad's a policeman, so be careful.
Apart from your own respect for your own abilities, Brian Clough, would you say that you were the right man to step into the kind of legacy Don Reeve had left?
That's a very difficult question. It's like saying, you know, if religion goes out of our way of life, who takes over
but it's
from
saying
religion?
That your style is very different from his style.
My
to players used to Don Reeve's style, it might have been upsetting.
My style's not different at all, in the sense that I wanted success and I believed I could deliver it, and my methods, 99% or 90% the same as Mr. Revy's. My style was exactly the same. Management is 90% right throughout the country, irrespective of who the manager is. It's the extra 10% that's the special bit.
But look, over the years, Leeds United have been run almost like a family, like sons of Don Reeve. Now, didn't you, in fact, go in and upset them, unsettle them, by going in for a big buying policy?
Well, a big buying policy, I'm not sure. What I did was, I bought a wing half to replace Eddie Gray, who there's grave doubts about his future.
I was informed when I took over Leeds that Mick Jones could possibly not be fit for the rest of the season, at the very earliest February or March. So I bought a reserve centre forward in John O'Hare, and all of Leeds know he is a very talented player. Now what I also did was, I tried to provide a little bit of striking power added to Leeds' machine, as I once called Don's team. He wasn't very happy with it, but it was a machine, superbly machine, and a superbly oiled one, but it was a machine. And I added Duncan McKenzie to it because I knew up front we were a little bit thin with Peter Lorimer, Joe Jordan and Alan Clark. So the fact of big buying wasn't big buying in the sense...
You don't think it was unsettling for the players?
Oh, it could have been slightly upsetting because they've been there so long. And one or two of them are getting on to 32, 33, possibly even 34.
Okay. All right. You played fingers against Sweden at Wembley. What was that? It'd be about 59.
Yes. Walter Winterbottom was manager of the England side, and he picked Bobby Charlton, me, and Jimmy Greaves. And it was my first cap, and everybody was congratulating me, and da-de-da, and they said, "Are you happy?" Like, and I said, "Well, I'm not really happy." I said, because I want to know who's going to give me the ball. Because Greaves is not going to give me it. Charlton can't give me it, because Bobby used to score this from 25 yards. He was a goal scorer. And we went to Cardiff and played there in Ninian Park, I think it was, and we drew 1-1, and I never got a kick.
Now, as you always point out to us, you've got the quickest 200 goals in history.
250.
Just tested. But, and then, of course, Boxing Day, I think it was Boxing Day about 62, that's unfortunate. How did the thing start with Peter Taylor? I mean, you played with him at Middlesbrough.
Peter was transferred from Coventry to Middlesbrough. I got friendly with him then.
You've been widely quoted, to be fair, as giving him the utmost respect in terms of his judgment on players.
Well, it was incredible. There were several players that I signed blind, as we used to say. I never saw Archie Gamble play. I'm in Taylor's car, and I said to Taylor, he said, "Where are you going?" I said, "Well, I'm going home for my tea, like, you know, about 5:30. I get in the shower." He said, "You're not going anywhere." He said, "You're going to Preston. You're signing Gamble." Gamble said, "I'll sign for you at 8 o'clock in the morning." I'd been at his house all day, and his missus was out here with young Scott. And I said, "Why 8 o'clock in the morning?" He said, 8, and he was a little shit, Gamble, he is now. But he was stubborn, and he said 8 o'clock. I said, "Well, if you think I'm going back to Derby and then coming back here to sign you," I said, "you're not even good enough," which I knew he was good enough, but I didn't want him to know, I knew. So I said, "Well," "I'll stay here the night." He said, "Where?" I said, "Here, in your house." I said, "Get a cushion on the settee." Well, his missus gets upstairs, makes a spare bed up for me. Comes down, she's got my bloody breakfast ready. He comes down, bloody dressing gown on, and I've got the phones ready. I'd had my breakfast. He comes down about, I said, "You're late." I said, "Next time you're late, you're fined." I said, "Sign them." And he signed them. Colin Todd, of course, I went to Sunderland and signed him. The chairman was away on a cruise, and the vice chairman was in charge, a very mild man, Mr. Bradley, and he used to pop in the ground and he used to say, "Beautiful day today." I said, "Yeah." I said, "I had a good day yesterday." He said, "Oh, what is that?" I said, "I signed Colin Todd." "Oh, who does he play for?" I said, "Well, he used to play for Sunderland." I said, "But he plays for us now." "Oh," he said, "do you mind if I ask you how much?" I said, "Yeah, 175,000 quid. He never spoke to me for about 3 years.
That must have been...
For about the record, 175,000. He never spoke to me for 3 years after that.
No, I didn't. What about...
The way it's being handled that you're arguing about, not the fact that it's done.
I don't want to waste another 400 feet of film talking about your programme, but I think I've made enough points for you to find the happy line where it's entertainment, a little bit educational, a little bit instructional, for want of using your words, and get off everybody's back.
But when you used to work for us, Brian, and you were on television, as you say, in a panellist capacity, I mean, you used to talk about games afterwards and voice an opinion and have your say.
As a critic.
Critically sometimes.
Far more qualified than you or any of your colleagues. Where we used to look forward to going home and sitting in an armchair watching a bit of football and being entertained, we're now, talking purely as a layman, a guy who, you know, pays your wages through my television fee, we're now not going home and enjoying it. We're not seeing as much football as we should, and we're getting too much of that, and I suggest you shut up and show more football. Now, if that's not in a nutshell, I don't know what is.
Brian Clough.
Well, when I was a manager of Derby County and I was in direct conflict with Don Revie and his Leeds side, it's natural I didn't get on with him because invariably they were above us. That's the flippant answer. Having said that, I believe in a different concept of football to Don. I think. I believe that it can be played slightly different to the way Don plays it and get the same results. Now that might mean, you know, aiming for utopia, and it might mean being a little bit stupid, but that is the way I am. I'm a little bit stupid regarding this type of thing. I'm a little bit of an idealist. I do believe in fairies, and that is my, you know, outlook. Now, Don's slightly different, and his record proves over results that he perhaps is right. But having said that, I want to be like me. Well, Don obviously wants to be like him.
Is this question of...
How can you be bottom of the Premier League?
Well, to be fair, it's kept me awake for about 4 or 5 nights in the last 3 months, every week. And I don't know how we're bottom of the Premier League, but we are bottom. And you've got to be realistic. We are bottom of the Premier League. It's as simple as that. And until we get away from the bottom, Raymond, people like you will continually and perpetually, and whatever the words are, will keep asking me these questions. But we've got to get away from the bottom of that league. I am sick of being bottom of that league.
Yeah. What about, I mean, the majority of players you had at Forest and Derby are sort of the players that had to prove themselves. They've got something left. Big name players, but they've got plenty, you know, you could bring something out of them.
Children, when I signed in from Stoke,
Yeah.
the Stoke chairman said to me, Brian, you're dropping a clanger. I said, am I?
Yeah.
I said, why is that? He said, he'll bankrupt you. He never bankrupted me.
No.
He made a fortune for Forest.
Yeah.
And then I got my money back when I sold him to Southampton in any case.
I don't think anyone could ever take your methods and emulate them. They could, you know, they'd love to do your achievements because you did, and the things you did and the unconventional way you went about them were unbelievable.
I used to look at what they'd got.
Yeah.
And I was a great believer in getting out of them what they'd got. I never harped on about what they hadn't got.
What they got.
Now, Alan Hinton was petrified.
Yeah.
And I used to say to him, you're bloody petrified. And he says, yeah. So I surrounded him with people who weren't petrified. And they made up for what he hadn't got.
Yeah.
And he made up what they hadn't got, because he could plonk a ball with either foot anywhere.
Yeah.
But he couldn't go and get it himself, so I had to get somebody to get it for him, and then you go and plonk it, like, you know. So that was that side of it. Same with John Robertson.
Yeah.
John Robertson couldn't run 20 yards. He was fatter than me. When he'd play the ball, he used to be standing on the halfway line, and I used to say to Taylor, I'd say, is he like the fag up? You give him a ball with a square yard of grass, and he's the best player in the country.
Yeah. In that period of the...
When at Charlton once, we were beaten 6-3, because I got 3. I got the 3. And coming back on the train or bus, wherever it was, I said, if we score 5 next week, do you think we'll get a point? And that type of thing didn't go down too well with centre-halves.
English football generally now this season, is there anything about it in its widest sense which disturbs or concerns you?
Nothing apart from the gates that tell me are down slightly.
Why do you think the gates are going down then?
I don't know. I can't put my finger on it at the moment. If I could, I would. And I would do something to put it right. I think we play the usual old chestnuts come out of my mouth straight away, and I do believe in them. I think we play far too much football, obviously, and the breaks we have in between one season finishing and another one starting is very small. I think we find football too much on television. You and your colleagues are turning us off from family entertainment on a Saturday night by lecturing us at the moment.
Could you enlarge on that?
I'd love to. We used to sit down or look forward to it in comfort on a Saturday. I think you're becoming too deep. I think you're setting yourselves up as judge and jury. I think you've gone over the dividing line where you have a contribution to make to one of being dogmatic, overbearing, boring, and you can keep going. I know it's difficult to justify a non-non, for example, or to bill it as match of the day, but if that's what you get when you take your cameras to a ground, then show the non-non. Don't try and justify it or pick things out and bore us all to tears with your lectures.
Well, you're talking about analysis of individual incidents, are you, or what?
Yes, and I'm talking about the people who run your show, you, your colleagues and Jim and, you know, all that type of thing. If we want a serious discussion on most things, you know, for half an hour, we'll switch Shirley Williams on.
But Brian, after a match is over, I mean, fans and so on, they go in the pub and they talk about things that have happened, don't they?
Yes,
if it was a 0-0 draw and there was say, a goal disallowed or a controversial incident, that's obviously a topic of discussion. Now, surely our job is to report that as fairly as we can.
I think it's a difference between talking about it and discussing it with your mates and arguing about it in a pub than being lectured in your own home, in your own armchair, about what you should be saying and what you should be thinking and da-di-da-di-da. And I think what you do to referees is nothing short of criminal. I do, honestly. And I think the standard you feel that should be coming from referees at the moment is absolutely incredible. Because I've worked in your industry a little bit as a layman, and I've looked at one of your machines 24 times and still couldn't get it right. And that's what you do.
Yes, but I must take you up on one thing there, Brian. It quite frequently proves the referee right. I don't think it's fair to say that every analysis pillar is a referee by any means at all.
I'm not interested whether it proves him right occasionally. The point I'm making is that he makes a decision in 5 seconds, or 2 seconds, or 1 second, or whatever it is. Yeah. In the heat of a moment with 22 players, with 30,000 people shouting and bellowing, all I'm saying is you don't make that point strongly enough.
Sure about your questions, but there's only one way to play football. That's on grass. Not up in the sky, it's pouring down at the moment, as you well know. You play it on grass, you play it to feet, and you give a colleague the ball. That's the commodity we work with. Nick, you work with the microphone, and you stick it right in my face. But that's the commodity we work with, so we handle it the best way we can.
One last thought, Brian. Can you tell us where Nigel Clough will be playing this afternoon? Will he be playing in the back four or will he be playing elsewhere?
Well, son, I've already told your commentator, Martin, who's been a friend of mine for a long, long time. He's playing in the back four.
Excellent news. Brian, thank you very much for joining us.
Well, young man, thank you. I hope you've got it.